not included, and we've already had one tornado warning issued in that particular area. So still got these 2 tornado warnings up on the North Shore. Nonetheless, severe thunderstorm warnings all the more down toward the coastline. So areas included in the current severe thunderstorm warning: Thibodaux, Houma, Laplace, Hammond, Covington, Bogalusa. Amite just now out of that particular box because the storm has gone east enough. Same thing for Hammond here shortly. You're through the worst of the rain. Now just dealing with a little bit of slack here left to pass. And then Laplace about to get in on some of the heavier rain, as well as Thibodaux coming through in real time. Morgan City starting to see improvements. Houma also about to see some heavier rain, but at the moment you've just got that leading edge of the line, which is a little bit less intense. So we continue with 2 tornado warnings, but a lot more severe thunderstorm warnings. And again, the primary concern with this is straight line winds. Want to show you towards Mississippi 2 confirmed tornadoes that have been a problem. So whenever that is happening, it's probably confirmed by someone on the ground who's physically seeing it and able to call it a tornado. Whereas when you see these red boxes down here that are lit up a little bit more brightly than the watch, we're dealing with radar indicated potential tornado concerns. So I want to go back to the velocity product here, because always we're looking for a little bit of what we call a hook echo when we're looking at these storms. And that's a part of the area that would sort of bow out. So it's showing you a bit of a rotational concern because the colors on the radar are not the same. And we're still seeing a little bit of a debris ball here, but you see right in that area where you've got a little bit of what looks like a hook echo as a problem potentially. So we'll be watching for that. Again, this is all pretty rural in terms of population, but as we zoom in a little bit closer, if you were to be soon driving on LA 437, taking a little bit of a broader picture, let's see these particular roadways. Looks like we've got Parish Line Road, a couple of smaller interstates in the area, in the region. That's going to be your primary concern for maybe getting off the road as soon as you can, if you can drive east away from the storm and then get to a safe place that beats it out ahead. So not a bad idea to do that if you have the option. But reflectivity showing this line of storms moving pretty quickly as we continue over the next few minutes. So we're going to hope that that means it gets out of our viewing area as quickly as possible. There's the big picture. We're dealing with this all the way up past Jackson, Mississippi, through Macomb, down to Laplace, Thibodaux, Vacherie, and eventually the coastline. So not too far off of seeing storms in Port Fourchon, New Orleans, up through the rest of the North Shore area. And we've got those 2 tornado warnings in effect right now that are a concern there. So we'll go back to them. It's now 12:55, which means one has been issued for 11 minutes, the other one about 10, and we still have a good 35 minutes to go on these, as they won't expire until 1:30 unless the National Weather Service sees that the overall tornado concern has come to an end and we're just really dealing with severe gusts of wind more than anything else. So as we take this bigger picture, with our little box zoom tool, you can see Franklinton still included in that warning box, getting a lot of the heaviest rain right now. Same thing for Folsom. Bogalusa, you're on deck coming up next. And the reason these storms are so concerning in the middle of the night is because you can't see them coming as well, right? We don't have any daylight. So for that reason, the sun's not shining and the storms are a little bit tougher to diagnose, which means you have less response time. So that's why we're telling you to get inside, away from the doors and the windows, and take as much precaution as you can. All right, want to take a little bit of a bigger picture here. Again, all these yellow boxes are showing this line of storms as it moves through. You can expect just about the whole viewing area to eventually have a severe thunderstorm warning at some point at this point, because we've consistently seen the whole line of storms warned since it was coming from the west. So something to keep in mind there. A severe thunderstorm warning still requires a little bit of carefulness, getting away from the windows, making sure everything is secure. If you have any potential trash cans, Mardi Gras decorations that could loft and become debris, right? That's our primary concern other than the storm itself, is what it could take with it and make fly and then hurt someone or something. So we're watching for that, but our tornado warnings are another big concern because of potential rotation. So want to zoom back into those two boxes. Again, this is for the North Shore. We're not seeing any tornado warnings on the South Shore at the moment. We've got one that is a little bit further north that is in Franklinton area, moving at 35 miles an hour, radar indicated rotation. Flying debris is the primary concern, mobile homes especially. So damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles possible, tree damage likely. This storm was around Franklinton at 12:55. It's 12:57 now, so still moving through over the next couple minutes. Make sure you take cover if you're in that area. These tornadoes are tough to see at night. We'll have another 30 minutes to go on this. Also, a max hail size of less than an inch. So at least we're not seeing significant hail as a concern, but we could be dealing with a little bit of damage. As for our other tornado that's a little bit further south, that warning is for St. Tammany and Washington. And we continue to see the storm prompting the warning in Tangipahoa canceled. So that was some good news if you were watching with us in just the last hour. But we've got this watch in effect until 5 o'clock. So that being said, we'll be here with you all night tracking these in case we have more popping up as we get toward 2 and 3 a.m. At 12:52, this lower of the two tornado warnings was initiated because of severe thunderstorms capable of tornadoes and straight line wind damage in Folsom or 10 miles north of Covington, moving east at about 45 miles an hour. So flying debris will be dangerous to those who are caught without shelter, of course, and that's exactly why we always say make sure you get indoors in your safe space. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles possible, as well as trees, right? We're always really concerned about trees on the North Shore. There are a lot of trees, and trees are a big reason that we see damage to homes. So, of course, that's another reason we say try to get inside in the innermost room of your house, away from any windows or doors, because you're more likely not to have debris fly through the window or the door if you have a couple walls in between you and the debris coming from the outside. So again, we're just going to have to sort of hang tight in these areas over the next 30 minutes. We're getting a little bit closer to that 1:30 mark. We've been in this tornado warning now for about 15 minutes total, and that particular concern is looking a little bit improved as we approach the velocity product. So let's put that into motion again. Still looking at a couple areas of potential rotation, which is not ideal. That being said, we're going to keep watching this closely just in case there's a possibility of some rotation. But you see this yellow on the map? That is a sign of a little bit of rotation compared to the red. So we look for these colors to maybe differ as we get some signals that we could have a storm moving through. All right, back to the radar. As this one continues to move, want to take a bigger picture again because we do have more warnings than just the tornado warnings for the South Shore as we're starting to watch these storms progress a little bit further east. So at this point, heavy rain moving towards Lake Pontchartrain. If you're about to be on the Causeway, it's going to get gnarly, and I'd say the next 15 to 20 minutes. Laplace as well as Thibodaux in the thick of it right now. We'll start to see these storms pushing a little bit further east and clearing there shortly. Morgan City, a little bit better off now, starting to see improvements with less rain. And then over to the west of Houma, of course, again, a lot of these areas more rural, but we're definitely going to get the heaviest of the rain in the metro here in, I'd say, the next 30 minutes because these storms have really been moving quickly. We've been watching them since they were in Houston, and that was at about 6 o'clock during our 6 p.m. newscast. So these have moved a little bit more quickly in the last couple hours, and that's because they are weakening, which is a good sign. But we've seen more tornado warnings on the North Shore and in the Mississippi area than we have south of the lake. So we'll hope that these two up towards Franklinton and Folsom are our last of the night tonight. But you'll notice that severe thunderstorm warning box is larger than the tornado warning box. So there is the possibility of a tornado within these severe thunderstorm warning boxes. So you're looking at a lot of different colors on the radar. Let's break down which colors mean what. If you're looking at the yellow boxes, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The red blinking boxes are tornado warnings, and then the red larger boxes are your tornado watch boxes. And we're still under a tornado watch out to the west until 2 o'clock, but we're getting past the worst of it in Baton Rouge and west of there. We're in our tornado watch box across New Orleans until 5 a.m. this morning. So hopefully you're able to get to bed shortly, and maybe this can be a nice soothing soundtrack for you as we head into the next couple hours, but certainly have your phone at least on so that you can get these alerts in case we need to let you know of anything coming imminently. All right, we're gonna go back a little bit closer to our tornado warning boxes, take you back to that velocity product. Still showing a little bit of concern for rotation here, as now we're seeing some of the colors differ. So let's take a look at our debris possibilities, and yeah, definitely seeing a little bit of a concern for some debris. So we could have one of those weaker tornadoes in either of these spots, which of course we can't officially confirm until we get survey teams out there to make the decision. But we're not seeing a huge debris correlation coefficient, as we like to call it. So that's a good sign, because that would mean we'd have something lofting into the atmosphere and the radar's picking up on it. But we'll go back again to the reflectivity and show you the rain as it's pushing through. There's the bigger overall line of storms, and we've still got a good ways to go on these 2 tornado warnings, about 27 more minutes. So we apologize to have to stay on the air with you and say the same thing a lot of times, because it can get a little repetitive, but trying to just give you the bigger picture idea, because at the moment I'm not as concerned about these warning boxes up on the North Shore. It doesn't look like we have a confirmed tornado on the ground there. However, if it does change, of course, we'll focus on that a little more. So bigger picture showing you off to the west, Baton Rouge area, down towards Donaldsonville, Pierre Part, all in the clear compared to what we're about to experience here across New Orleans. Again, Folsom in the thick of the rain. Same thing for Hammond along I-10 if you might be driving that direction. I-55 between Hammond and Laplace, also pretty gnarly right now if you can avoid it, and it won't be long before this is the case for the Causeway. Always tough to be on a bridge in these situations, so if there's any way to delay your travel or maybe drive west or east so that you are out of it. The worst thing here would be to be driving north as you're following the extremely heavy rain and finding yourself in that situation for an extended period of time. So taking a bigger picture all the way down to the South Shore, we have seen the tornado watch for Lafayette and Baton Rouge expire, which makes me think we'll probably see the tornado watch for our viewing area ending before 5 a.m. as well, because these storms are moving so quickly. I would say we'll probably have the majority of this rain out of here by 3 a.m., which is definitely a little bit earlier than we forecasted originally. We were thinking probably the worst of it would come through at 2:30 to 3 a.m. So again, the good news is this won't be a problem for any parades. The bad news is the ones who are still on Bourbon Street or at the Superdome for the Endymion Extravaganza might be getting soaked here shortly, and there are a lot of people still out in the French Quarter, that's for sure. But definitely dealing with a lot of rain in a short amount of time, so at least no flooding concerns heading into the next few minutes. But Luling, Des Allemands, Raceland, Houma, Chauvin, you're coming up next for the heaviest downpours. So we're taking that bigger picture and showing you the whole line of storms as it moves through. We, in Bogalusa, are seeing that tornado warning box a little bit larger, so we're going to continue to watch this because it seems to have expanded a little bit further south, which is an interesting thing for the National Weather Service to do. Traditionally, they expand these a little bit further east because the storms are traveling east. But that being said, similar concept, which means everything is moving about 35 to 45 miles an hour. So we've still got another 24 minutes to go on these two warnings. I think they just extended it to include a little bit more of the area south of Folsom. And you'll notice sun is still on the very edge of that warning box. So not a whole lot of new information on that particular warning, but still in effect for St. Tammany and Washington at 1:05. So flying debris is the primary concern there, especially in a mobile home. Just make sure that you are away from the windows and doors in an interior hallway if this is where you live. Otherwise, on the South Shore, we're going to hope these storms continue to behave other than the rain that is about to dump on the city. And we can use it, right? It's been a minute since we've had a good bit of rain, so maybe we'll clean the streets after Mardi Gras all the more. But we have seen at least one tornado watch expire, so some good news there. We're looking a little bit more improved in the areas on the western side of our viewing area. So Morgan City, Gonzales, Thibodaux, Laplace, all about to be better off. Laplace and Thibodaux in the thick of it for now. Homa on deck there. And then we'll start to see this moving a little bit closer to Luling, Boutte, Des Allemands, and the rest of New Orleans. You can see the Mississippi River here on our radar as we watch these storms progress a little bit further east. And most of them have been behaving in terms of not rotating or spinning up. So we just need them to continue to move through and get out of here, really. But the overall wind threat is decreasing as the storms keep pushing east. So some good news there. Hopefully we don't have a whole lot of Mardi Gras debris flying around uptown, downtown, and the list goes on. Definitely more warnings up in Mississippi. So you can see that a little bit closer to the core of the low, the storms are holding together more strongly. But we're looking better towards the southern part of the line at the coastline and on the South Shore. So we'll take you back again to this warning box, still in effect for another 21 minutes unless the National Weather Service decides to expire it prematurely. At the moment, looking better. I don't see a huge concern for rotation with this. And like we said earlier, the primary concern on the North Shore is always trees because they can fall and then you can have a much worse situation. So that's really what we're watching more than anything. But so far, no reports of any confirmed sightings, and that's what we rely on when we are looking for confirmation on the ground. So that's only happening up towards Mississippi. Okay, we have a new warning that was just issued for the South Shore. So I want to take you to this one now. It includes Des Allemands as well as Luling and parts of the I-310 area. So that is going to be our next one that we focus on. And hopefully we're not going to keep seeing this as a trend, but we may over the next hour to two. So that being said, we are definitely improving down towards Thibodaux and Check Bay, but now we're starting to watch heavier rain enter the South Shore area as well. So this is our first warning for the South Shore. It's just east of Thibodaux and south of Laplace. Want to take you to, once again, the velocity tracker, and we will see if we have any winds showing opposite directions. So we don't have that at the moment, which is good news. Hopefully we will continue to not see it, but definitely something to keep in mind if you are traveling, which I know a lot of people are going to be doing. So that being said, we are tracking a new warning. It was just issued in real time, and we're going to get a little more information on the details here in terms of speed. So this one went into effect 2 minutes ago for Central St. Charles Parish in southeastern Louisiana, North Central Lafourche Parish as well. This one is until 2 o'clock, so that's another 50 minutes. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and straight line wind damage, 7 miles north of Raceland or 13 miles east of Thibodaux at 35 miles an hour. Flying debris will be dangerous, of course, if you are not in your safe place. So please be careful. Another area with some mobile homes, that is our primary concern with this. If you're in an area that doesn't have great structure, we don't have a lot of those tornado shelters in southeast Louisiana, but anything you can do to get away from the exterior doors and windows. This will be near Des Allemands around 1:15, Parity and Bayou Gauche around 120, Boutie around 125, and Luling around 130. And we are starting to see a little more lightning come through New Orleans at this point. So some of this is out ahead of the main line, but we're going to really be dealing with it shortly. So it's a pretty big warning box there for Des Allemands area, but want to go back up to the North Shore and show you the ones that we were dealing with before in Franklinton, Sun, and beyond. We're getting close to the expiration on that, but we're still tracking this. So going to go back to the reflectivity, show you this as it moves through. Now we've got 3 total warnings at once, and that seems like a lot, but actually this line had about 11 to 12 warnings at once out towards Texas. So again, a sign that everything is weakening in intensity, but always a bummer when these come through in the middle of the night for the sake of warning people, because a lot of people are sleeping. Of course, for the sake of parades, it's good news that everybody's off the route and we're not having to delay or cancel anything. So New Orleans not quite included in any tornado warnings right now, but we could potentially have one in the metro as we get into the next 30 minutes or so, watching this line of storms break up a little bit. And really, we're always looking for these warnings coming out ahead of the main line. Usually in a linear situation like this, we end up with straight line winds as the primary concern. But any storm that's able to get out ahead of that main line of straight line wind gusts can sometimes rotate, just depending on the specific setup and dynamics. So definitely going to see things change here as we get into the next 30 minutes in New Orleans and a little bit further south to Jean Lafitte, but Cutoff, Houma, Thibodaux, Gramercy, Laplace, all dealing with the thick of it at the moment. Just want to go a little bit further north because, again, we said the Causeway is going to be dealing with a lot of heavy rain in a short amount of time, and we'll let you know if there are any closures or anything. But as we get a little bit further up towards Covington and eventually Sun, Franklinton, Bogalusa, the list goes on. That's where you're dealing with the heavier rain and still some lasting warnings. So expecting this warning that was issued almost 45 minutes ago now to expire at 1:30 on the North Shore, but we had that brand new one that was just issued on the South Shore, and it's going to go for another 45 minutes. Usually these are issued for somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. So you continue to see a lot of interstates in the path of this system. Same thing for just a lot of different cities and towns. Zoom in a little closer. Here is Lake Pontchartrain at the moment. Definitely don't want to be on a boat anytime soon. We have a small craft advisory until tomorrow night, and that's because on the back side of this system, we're going to be dealing with a lot of wind even still. So as we continue to see that wind moving through, we are definitely dealing with the concern of a little bit of a driving hazard. So as we get up towards Luling, you need to be in your safe place. Again, we've been covering this for the last 45 minutes or so with warnings popping off. If you are within this warning box, then you need to be taking action immediately. And we will continue to cover this as we get into the next 30 minutes to hour with this moving through, because we do have the possibility of a tornado on the ground. Taking you back to that velocity tracker, still seeing a little bit of a potential signature here with some yellow on the radar. So it is a possibility that we could be seeing a tornado. The sirens are going off because we have a warning. So anytime there's a warning, you could be dealing with a tornado outside of your window. But at the moment, we don't have any confirmation on that, which means we'll have to wait and see tomorrow based on the debris if one truly came through. But we have been seeing improvements in terms of at least less rain in these areas and everything moving through quickly. So yes, if you're in the warning box, you need to be in your safe space, as we've been mentioning. Want to come back down towards the South Shore in Des Allemands, as you're seeing some of these colors here line up and differ. So that's where we're looking for the possibility of some rotation on the ground as well. and we're going to be dealing with this for the next 45 minutes in that area. So you're seeing this in Booty as well as Luling, Destrehan, not too far off of the warning box either as we're zooming a little bit closer. If you're in that area, you want to make sure that you are in your safe space away from exterior doors and windows and taking immediate action. This means there could be a tornado in your area shortly, so please be careful. We're seeing a lot more lightning in New Orleans as well. So I want to take you back to the reflectivity setting, showing you the rain as it's moving through, because we've got super heavy rain in a short amount of time here. So that being said, we definitely have the concern of an imminent threat in this area. And you can see that severe thunderstorm warning box is far larger than our tornado warning box. So Des Allemands showcasing the concern of a potential tornado right now. Same thing up towards Booty, Destrehan, everyone in that line. And you'll notice areas that are not too far from the extension of this warning box, like Wagaman, and then eventually the metro, also on deck, right? So we're going to be watching this as we get into the next 40 minutes to see if the warning jumps a little bit further east. That being said, right now, the French Quarter is dry, same thing for the metro area, but in Des Allemands, Bayou Gauche, Booty, Destrehan, Luling, we are seeing this concern. So you've got a little bit of time there to get into your safe space. We're not seeing the worst of it come through just yet. You've got, I'd say, about 30 minutes at the moment until this warning expires, and that's going to expire when the storm has passed you. So it's not going to expire because the intensity reduces necessarily, unless we start to see signs that that is happening. At the moment, we have not. So just want to show you the bulk of the rain here. Let's get some of these roadways listed because a lot of people are traveling with all of the Mardi Gras festivity. So this is US 90, of course, up to Des Allemands. If we continue a little bit further along it, eventually you will get up to Parody. We also have the concern for Booty, and eventually 310 through Destrehan, Luling, a part of this as well. So if you're hearing sirens, it's because you are in a tornado warned area. And when a tornado warning is issued, then in order to get that message out, we're on the air with you and all of your sirens are going off. So something to keep in mind. We'll of course let you know when the coast is clear there. Want to go back up to the North Shore because we are about 11 minutes away from what should be the expiration of those warnings, and they seem to have expired. So we did have 2 warnings on the North Shore that were meant to last until 1:30. Those are no longer in effect. So we're focusing now on the warning that is closer to Des Allemands and Bayou Gauche. Booty and Luling are both excluded from this warning. Same thing with Destrehan, but you very well may have sirens going off because of the proximity of the storm. And you're also in a severe thunderstorm warning box, which means that you could be dealing with significant wind in the next few minutes. So that being said, please just hang tight and stay calm over the next 40 minutes, and we'll continue to be watching for the possibility of any confirmation on the ground. I'm not seeing anything from the National Weather Service that is definitive as far as debris lofting, but again, what we're looking for here on our radar is the possibility of the correlation coefficient, which is our debris signature, showcasing a little bit of a color difference. So I'm still not seeing that in the area that is warned, which is good news. That's what you want, because you don't want to end up with debris that's evidently on the radar. That means you have a really significant tornado coming through. So we do not have that at the moment, which is a good sign. And most of these warnings have been expiring prematurely over the last few minutes as we've tracked this. So I want to show you again, this big red box is showing you the tornado watch. It's issued until 5 a.m. I don't expect it to last the entire time. I think these storms are moving more quickly now, and I think that's because they're weakening in intensity, which is what we want. They've sped up a little bit. The timing has stuck in terms of minimal parade impacts, but it has moved up as far as making it to our viewing area between 2 and 3 o'clock. And that's just because the storms are weakening, which is a good sign, and the low pressure system is less strong. So when that happens, they start to move a little more quickly, and then we have less of a flood threat, which is exactly what you want. So I want to zoom in again here on this tornado warning box. You can see it outlined in red. If you live in an area inside of this box, some of which is significantly rural, then you need to take action immediately. Want to call out a couple more of these roadways. We see LA 306, LA 632, US 90, and of course eventually just beyond the warning box itself, that 310 area over to the Mississippi River, and then eventually New Orleans. So we don't have any areas in the metro included in a tornado warning just yet, but we're seeing areas that aren't too far away with a couple of potential warnings, and still seeing a good bit of lightning rolling through. The storms are starting to pick up in New Orleans as well as the French Quarter. So of course, as we get into the next couple of minutes, we're only going to see them become more widespread. So yeah, you've got some heavy downpours now moving into New Orleans proper. We can hear the thunder and see the lightning here at WWL. And you'll notice City Park, Metairie, all dealing with a lot of rain. Kenner, seeing some of the heaviest rain so far. That's along I-10. Same thing as we take a bigger picture out towards Laplace. So if you're on the twin spans, definitely a little bit gnarly right now. And the Causeway, about to be really dangerous to drive across. So please be careful. If you must drive on that Causeway bridge, take it as slowly as you can. Hazards on, windshield wipers on, and if possible, just try to avoid it. This system's gonna move. It's not gonna be around for more than an hour. So if you have the ability to maybe delay your travel plans, I would do that just in order to be as safe as possible. All right, let's see if we're getting any new information on this tornado warning. Right now, not as much rain, right? Here comes the leading edge of the heaviest rainfall. So this is why the warning is issued ahead of time, because it gives you a little bit of reaction ability. That way you can get into your safe space. So Des Allemands, you should be in your safe space at the moment, especially if you're just a little bit further east of Des Allemands proper. Same thing for Bayou Gauche, and then up towards Luling. We're hearing those sirens. You're not in the direct warning, but you still have a significant wind threat coming your way. And we're gonna see that as we get into the next 30 minutes. So I just wanna remind you, if you're joining us now, this yellow box here, that is spanning Thibodaux all the way to Cutoff, up through New Orleans and Laplace, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. We're seeing also within that box a tornado warning. Right now, not as much rain included in that particular box because it's on the way. So trying to give you a little bit of advanced timing. We've still got 34 minutes to go on this particular warning, and it's mostly over rural areas. The National Weather Service has actually shrank the box a little bit, so that's some good news. We're not seeing as much of the region included in that particular box. But this tornado warning is issued until 2 o'clock, so we still have another 35 minutes to go for St. Charles Parish. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes and straight line wind damage over Bayou Gauche, 11 miles south of Hanville, moving at 35 miles an hour. So flying debris is our primary concern. Again, you're seeing the most significant rainfall coming that way right now. And Raceland is also looking like it's in the thick of it. So we're definitely starting to get more heavy rainfall in Houma and then up through Thibodaux as well. But hearing a lot of thunder, hearing a lot of thunder on both sides of the lake, and seeing a lot of lightning as well. So everybody out in the French Quarter hopefully getting off of the streets and into some safe buildings. Same thing for anyone that might be on the roadways, driving, leaving one of these carnival festivities and heading home. Pretty much another 35 minutes to go here on this particular tornado warning, and we've been on the air with you almost a full hour now, coming up on an hour at 1:45. So we're just going to continue to watch this line as it moves through the area. You've already seen one tornado watch off to the west expire. We're going to watch this tornado watch that's in our viewing area continue for at least the next 2 hours, but I think this line of storms is going to be out of here by 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then moving on to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and totally clear as we head into the morning time frame. So, of course, if you're on the parade route holding spots overnight, please make sure you get inside as these significant storms roll through, because that is going to be really dangerous, and there's the possibility for a lot of those tarps or chairs to start flying in these winds. We're seeing the winds around somewhere between 60 miles an hour and 65 miles an hour. So the storms are moving at 35 to 40, but the winds are more significant. So still looking at that same warning here, not much has changed on it. The line of storms moving through, so it's only a matter of time. At this point, Des Allemands is about to be out of the thick of it. We're about to see that rain come to an end, which is good news. But we do have that small portion of the viewing area concerned with a tornado warning in real time. Again, Wuling not included in that warning, but not too far north of it either. So you've definitely got a lot of straight line wind coming through right now and some heavy rain as well. In these situations, try to remain as calm as possible. Just get into that interior room of your home, away from the doors and the windows, and hold tight, because it's not going to be a super long lasting storm. It's going to move through quickly. So as we get onto the North Shore, I just want to give you another glance, because we were dealing with a couple of tornado warnings there earlier. All of these have since expired. We're still dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings, and I want to show you the Causeway right now, because we've got the thick of it coming across the Causeway. So at the moment, a lot of yellow on the map, and we continue to see that area of orange or red with heavier downpours in a short amount of time. These are really not going to be long-lived. We've got green surrounding the rest of the radar, which is lighter rain. So the heavier rain is depicted by those darker colors. But overall, the primary threat here is for gusty winds. So the good news is everything's moving, and it at the moment doesn't appear that there is significant rotation on the radar in the warning box that's in a pretty rural area. So I'm going to zoom in on this again. Let's check out a different product. We're going to look at the velocity, which shows the potential for some winds in opposite directions. You are seeing that here. You're seeing red and you're seeing green. Anytime we see red and we see green, we're looking for an area that's pretty small and that's pretty round. So if you're seeing a line like this, you're probably not dealing with rotation, which is good news. That's what you want. So hopefully we're not going to be seeing this warning last all the way until 2 a.m. I don't think we will. Most of these have been expiring prematurely. We're watching these severe thunderstorm warnings continually jump forward as the National Weather Service stays on top of issuing them. So bigger picture, we're going to put the radar back into motion. Here comes the storm across the North Shore. It's starting to move past a lot of our areas. South of the lake, we continue to see improvements as well from the west to the east. So now Chack Bay out of the worst of it. Homa, you're in the thick of it at the moment, but you won't be for too much longer. Wuling, also seeing the heaviest downpours, but not included in a tornado warning, so some good news. Des Allemands is just at the start of that tornado warning, but we're seeing the worst of the rain continue to press east. And remember, this is a warning that was larger before. It's now been scaled down, and it's pretty much in a rural area and then over the bayou. So hopefully we're not going to have too many major issues from this, because we're not seeing a significant signature on the radar showing that the winds are matching up. So that should be a good sign. But still going to stay on air with you until this warning expires, which will probably be for the next 30 minutes. So taking that bigger picture, lots of yellow on the map blinking, all severe thunderstorm warnings spanning from as far south as the coastline up through New Orleans, over to LaPlace, Slidell, Covington included, same for Picayune and Bogalusa. So Baton Rouge at this point starting to dry out. They were dealing with this rain at 11:30, about 2 hours ago, and now they're almost completely dry. So that goes to show you that by 3:30, we will probably also be drying out and saying goodbye to these storms. Heavy rain clear on the camera at the moment, and we continue to see the radar showcasing a weakening in intensity. You'll notice those two separate areas of yellow and red, right? We've got the leading edge, and then we've got a little bit of an additional line of storms behind it that's still showing some heavier rain. So that's good news. That means the line is weakening. It's starting to separate a little bit, which means the wind should be a little bit less intense. And we'll hope to continue with improvements as we get into the next few minutes. Looks like that tornado warning down toward Des Allemands has prematurely expired. So some good news there. Still dealing with the watch and some severe thunderstorm warnings. But at the moment, we don't have any tornado warnings. So that's good news. That means the National Weather Service did not see a significant rotation on the ground, and that means they have prematurely canceled the warning because it is okay now to come out of your safe place. So if you were in a safe place down toward Des Allemands, Bayou Gauche, or up to Luling, Destrehan, anywhere in there where you might have been hearing sirens, we are now no longer in a tornado warning, and the heaviest of rain has moved past. So you should be out of the concern for any significant straight line wind damage. So some good news there. But again, we're going to keep a close watch on this because we are watching these storms move through the metro now. We will come back on air with you if need be because of another warning here shortly.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer. Jacuzzi bath remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford.
We're offering free fixtures and a free shower door with no interest and no payments for up to a year.
And best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-372-0812.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft and financial loss. It only takes one mistake at your bank, hospital, or employer for a criminal to gain access to your personal information. And if they do, you and your money are at risk.
$110,000 of my hard-earned money gone.
With LifeLock, if your identity is compromised, we'll step in and fix it so you don't have to, guaranteed. Our dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialists handle your case from start to finish. They contact institutions on your behalf, dispute fraudulent charges, and more. In fact, we're so confident that restoration is guaranteed. Plus, LifeLock offers the $1 Million Protection Package with coverage up to $3 million.
When I opened my mail and I had a check from LifeLock, they made me whole.
Call now or go online and use promo code 35OFF to save 35% off an annual plan for your first year. Enroll now.
Watch weekdays at 9 a.m. on WWL.